Hello?
Hi, Herman. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I just want to make sure everything was working okay and that you can hear me.
I can hear you perfectly, and I think I can see your right shoulder. Ah, there you are. Now I can see all of you. Yes, that's fine. Hey, do you know if I get a call or something that comes in on my phone, wh and it interrupts the Zoom, how do you get back to the Zoom? Is it on an open browser or where is it? Do you know that?
You can re-click on the link and it should bring you right back in.
Okay, so you have to go back to the link. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. And then like for right now, I'll put you back on mute. And then we'll do the same thing like when we get to your application. I just want to see you are number 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're 6 on the agenda. So you've got a bit of a wait.
Okay.
But then we'll do the same thing. I'll just ask you to unmute your microphone and you'll come forward and then you'll talk to the committee.
All right. And am I allowed to dial in on two devices just in case one goes down on me? I mean, I'd like to dial in my iPad and my iPhone.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Just what I'll do. I just relabeled your name just so I have it as video. So Herman Hastings video so that I know which one to ask you to unmute on.
Well, it doesn't look like it's letting me go in on the other one anyway. All right.
It may not. You may have to re-register with a different email.
All right. Then don't worry about it. I'm just going to do this one solo then, and I will hopefully everything will go fine.
Perfect. Well, I'll put you back on mute. I just got a few more things to take care of before the start of the meeting.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your help.
You're very welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Rob won't be joining us today. Jim Bruce forgot, and then they've been away for that day. Oh, yeah, they called each other and talking about it, realized they both forgot about it, so. So luckily they did get it done. Oh, good. Yeah. Not sure if I want to ask you a question, but I will ask you to comment. So when I was there, there were $3. Yeah. And the application, we talked about that. This is the which sort of company. It's because I think other shops that are above GPS, something else. Whatever else they were proposing didn't meet fair. I think it's what. Oh, yeah, you can also then you can bring it as product complete. Then there was one on there, and it's like whatever I thought was okay.
Yes, I don't know if I've met you. Oh, hi. Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and Betty, I think, sent a letter in, friend of mine, and she lives here. Oh, of course, Jeff Swenson. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because over seconds. We have an OC transfer. Yeah, I don't. You've been on story. I've been out. Yeah. You've seen a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot about it. Very talented and out of the box. Oh.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just.
But they might just be coming on soon.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why I didn't follow, well, I know my phone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't know. And.
That's
So,
what we're
but I think over here, you just. But what the.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. That's cool. But then somebody. That's okay. It's
Wow.
my forward. Good. Well, yeah. Turn it on,
Yeah.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock and time to start our meeting. I'd like to thank you all for attending the Committee of Adjustment meeting. I'd like to remind everyone as we get underway, this meeting is in person and online through Zoom and is being recorded. Everyone online will be muted with the exception of committee members and the staff. All comments and questions are to be directed through the chair from committee members, staff, and the public. I would like to remind committee members that you must speak into the microphone so that everyone online and in person can hear you. For those attendees that are online, your video picture will not be displayed. You will be muted. You will not be able to unmute yourself during the application that you have not requested to attend unless you raise your hand. At the beginning of each application, I will call the application forward. The owner or applicant in attendance may come to the table to your right to speak with the committee. The microphone is live and you must speak into the microphone. If the owner or applicant, excuse me, is online, you will be unmuted. The committee will ask for comments from the public during each application. Please provide your name and address for the public record. All comments and questions should be directed to the chair and only speak when it is your turn. There have been several written submissions received regarding the applications on the agenda today, and all were distributed to the committee in advance of the meeting. In the interest of time, please limit your comments to the variances being requested. If a previous speaker has made the same point, please indicate that you agree with the previous speaker and add any additional comments that you may not yet have been heard by the committee. If you are in person and would like to speak to an application one at a time, you may approach the podium and speak. This microphone will be live. If you are on the video portion of the Zoom meeting and you would like to speak and your microphone is muted, please click on the raise hand button located on the bottom of your screen. Staff will notify me that you wish to speak. If you're attending by telephone and you wish to speak, please dial *9 to raise your hand, which will signal staff that you wish to speak. Once a decision has been made concerning your application, you're welcome to leave the hearing while the committee continues with the next application. Members in attendance today are Bruce Craig, Catherine Graham, Paul Veenstra, Rob Johnson, and myself, Jim Kehoe. Our staff in attendance are Director of Planning, Marnie Vendetti, Planner Kyle Peel, Secretary Treasurer Amanda Werner McKellar. Okay, the first item on the agenda today is the adoption of the agenda. Do any committee members have any changes they wish? To make?
Bruce, I have no changes.
Catherine, none.
No.
Nor do I. And, yeah, I need a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda.
Bruce will move.
Catherine will second.
All in favor?
Bruce, yes.
Oh, yeah, just a second. Yeah. So it's been moved by Bruce, seconded by Catherine, that the agenda be adopted as circulated. So all in favor?
Bruce, yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
yes.
And I am also carried. Okay, excuse me. Next, second item on the agenda is adoption of the minutes from August 29th, 2023. Do any committee members have any changes or suggestions?
Bruce, none.
None.
Nor
No.
do I. Nor do I. Yep, I need a mover and a seconder again for the minutes. Catherine and Paul, I guess.
I second.
Yeah, Paul second. Okay. It's been moved by Catherine, seconded by Paul, that the minutes of the August 29th, 2023 hearing of the Committee of Adjustment be adopted as circulated. All in favor?
Bruce, yes.
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 And I am also carried. Okay, declaration of interest. Do any members of the committee have any declaration, pecuniary or otherwise, in any of the ones before us today?
Bruce, I have none.
Catherine has none.
No.
I have one in, I believe it's the last one today. So. Yeah, it's number D13 2023-031. So Bruce will be chairing that one. So, need to start? Yeah. So the first application today is for it's D13 2023-015 Fancy Rock Island. Amanda, is the applicant with us today or?
Yes, we have the owner and the agent online, so I've just asked them to unmute their microphones so we can get started with them. In the meantime, I'll read the purpose of the application. The application is requesting permission and a minor variance. The proposed permission is for the expansion of an existing legal non-complying cottage through an addition to its north side and an increase in the height of the dwelling to facilitate the construction of a second floor. The existing cottage is a non-complying structure that does not meet the minimum required setback from the St. Lawrence River. Further, the application is requesting a minor variance for the proposed replacement of the existing septic disposal system located at a reduced setback within the minimum 30-meter setback from the St. Lawrence River. An existing non-complying septic system is proposed to be removed. Of note, an existing legal non-complying sleeping cabin is being replaced by an accessory structure at the same location, size, volume, and height, and as such does not require permission or zoning relief.
Kyle, you want to summarize your report, please?
Thank you, Chair, through you. So this application originally came forward at the July 25th Committee of Adjustment meeting. The application is requesting a permission for an expansion of the existing dwelling, as well as a minor variance for the siting of the proposed septic system. At the July committee meeting, the application was deferred to allow the applicant time to work with the Conservation Authority as well as the township in regard to the proposed septic system, as there were some concerns at the time. The applicant provided an updated proposal. However, the CRCA has indicated concerns with the updated proposal and have indicated that they will not be able to issue a permit for the proposed septic system. As such, staff are recommending deferral at this time.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Amanda, any public comments that we've received?
Yes, we received comments from the Conservation Authority, and they said they had no objections as it relates to the proposed dwelling addition. However, they do not support the proposed location of the septic tanks. Staff requests that the tanks be relocated outside of the floodplain and that the setback be maximized to ensure the development is outside the risk of natural hazards as much as possible. Floodproofing requirements for both septic tanks will be addressed at the permitting stage once the most feasible, acceptable location is established.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Is anyone from the public that wishes to speak to this application? Yeah, Todd, sure, come ahead.
Oh, yes, we'll do that. The owner would like to.
So, yes, it's Todd Greer Excavating. I spoke with Emily Sue this morning about this septic, which is actually a holding tank, not a disposal bed. So it's contained, it's a holding tank. She had concerns about it not being within the floodplain. That's impossible on this property because the property is too narrow. We can meet the 75.9 meters of elevation for the new tanks. The new tank is replacing an existing tank with a slightly bigger capacity. So that's why there's two tanks. We're twinning the tanks. The new tanks are lower profile for aesthetics, and structurally, they're now making tanks, holding tanks, lower profile for stability. And therefore they're slightly longer. So she has concerns that we are encroaching on the floodplain. There's rock outcroppings there. The first tank will actually go in the very same place as a current tank. And as of about 10:30 this morning, the Tree Hill Engineering Company were altering their drawing with some comments on it. So I'm hoping that Emily will now be satisfied with the alteration of the tanks and the notes that we're going to put on them.
Okay.
So yeah, and the biggest thing is they are holding tanks. There's no disposal. The sewage waste is hauled off site as it is currently.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess I'll just clarify the point about the septic
Go
disposal
ahead.
system. So that's just sort of the definition in the zoning bylaw is that a septic disposal system, and then the holding tank would fit under that. So we weren't trying to specify any specific system. It was just sort of a general statement.
Thank you, Kyle. Okay. Okay, the owner, I think, wishes to address us.
Hi, can you hear me, Rod Ray?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Oh, good. Thank you very much for having us on the agenda today. The only thing I wanted to say was that I was hoping Todd was there to help explain the septic holding tanks and where they're located. That's all I was going to say, and hoping that Todd's review and Todd's placement would meet the requirements now that Emily knows where they will be.
Okay, thank you. Committee, Bruce, I'll start with you. Have you any questions maybe for Todd or the owner?
No, I generally have no concerns. I'm sure that this will be hashed out properly. I'm hoping that we can vote on it today, subject to the approval of the Conservation Authority. So as to not delay it another month. Now, having said that, maybe that delay is not so important at this time of year, because I'm not sure, Todd, does that impact the plan?
It won't impact the work schedule for me. It will likely impact the work schedule for Mr. Ray, securing contractors to do construction and stuff like that. So yeah, that would be Rod's call, but I won't move it onto the site until the springtime myself.
Right.
But it's nice to have your paperwork in place when we're ready to roll.
Okay, well, I'm hopeful that sooner or later that the Conservation Authority will agree to the placement of the new tanks. And so in the meantime, we'll be primarily voting on the issue of the addition. So I'm just hoping that we can vote on this today. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Bruce. Catherine?
I share Bruce's sympathies. I would, however, definitely want to make it conditional on approval by the Conservation Authority, but if there's no approval, then there's nothing going to happen. So it seems to me that effectively the Conservation Authority has a veto over proceeding regardless. So I'm prepared to vote today.
Paul?
Yeah, I have no concerns.
Nor do I, other than, like I said, I agree with Bruce. It would have been nice to proceed today, but I don't know whether it's starting to look like we'll have to defer it to wait on the Conservation Authority. Is that?
Yeah, we would
Yes.
recommend deferral until we receive Conservation Authority comments indicating that they would be willing to issue a permit. Because as stated, the building department is unable to issue a permit until, the applicable authorities have given their okay. And in this case, that would be the CRCA.
Okay, thanks, Kyle.
Kyle, if the Conservation Authority was to approve the location of the new tank, let's say within the next few days or week, it's unfortunate to have to wait basically another 3 weeks or more to address this. So I'm just wondering if there is any way that we can conditionally approve the application subject to the Conservation Authority, because the Conservation Authority may very well next week or tomorrow say, okay, we agree with Mr. Greer's plan. And then we're postponing this and dragging on. So I'm just wondering, is there some way that we can speed this up?
Yes.
Thanks, through you. That could be done. It could be made a condition of the decision.
Good.
The only risk in doing that is that if the Conservation Authority comes back with something different that changes a setback or necessitates another variance because of an alteration in a location or something, then the applicant would have to come back through the process for another approval. So looking at what the variance requested is that the septic disposal system shall be set back at 7.3 meters from the high water mark. If they came back with something different, there could I can't project what the actual setback would be, but if the Conservation Authority is prepared to issue a permit, then it's obviously something that they've agreed upon and that they're satisfied with the setback. So if the setback approved by the committee is 7.3 meters, and the Conservation Authority comes back and says it has to be 7.4 meters, but it changes the setback on another side, there might be a minor risk just because of the irregular shape of the property and where it lies. So I guess it's at the committee's discretion in terms of if you want to approve it subject to. I just want to make it known that there could be a possible chance that it may result in additional zoning relief being required. I can't project that at this point.
Just a further question, if it resulted in further consultation being needed, like via another meeting, like next month, would that involve another fee for the applicant?
Through you, yes, it would, because the committee would have already made a decision on the application, so it would be a new process.
I'd like to speak to the owner and ask him if he has any objection at all for us deferring it for 1 month, just to make sure everything, all our Ts are crossed and Is are dotted. Mr. Ray, are you still on the line there?
Yes, I'm here. I guess, yes, I mean, I'd like to save an additional fee. But but did we hear Todd say that he had talked with the conservation and that they had agreed to something? Did I hear that?
I spoke with Emily Sue this morning and explained to her how limited the site was and that the tanks that we're using, I have the design for the job sheets right here, the shop drawings, are slightly longer than the current tank. So that's why we have this extra meter of encroachment. So we're altering the drawing and showing the 75.9 meters. That's Tree Hill are doing that for you, Rod. So as quick
Right.
as they can get that done, and then we can get it back to the Cattle Rockway. And I don't know what their turnaround time is, but it seemed pretty straightforward to me. But also they have never been on the island, so they just have no idea how rock outcroppings and stuff like that are causing us to be right in the same envelope as the current tank.
So Todd, have I got that right? You said the Conservation Authority has never been on the island?
That's what they asked me this morning, because I asked if she could recall the rock outcropping. The rock outcropping jumps right up like this, and the holding tank sits here and the cottage is here. So if we have to come more this way, we got to jump up on that rock cropping, and then we have to add about 2 meters of granular material under the tanks. At the same time, they're telling me I'm not permitted to add granulars. So
They kind of got you between a rock and a hard place. And, actually, I would like to ask Mr. Ray if he would not think it would be in his best interest to defer it for a month. I think we're all in agreement that we would support the proposal, but we'd hate to see you, I know I would personally, and I think committee members would, to have to pay for another minor variance if
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
I guess, yes, I guess we should defer it. Todd, I look to you for kind of advice, but to be on the safe side, I guess we should defer.
Yes, please.
Thank you, through you. I'd just add that if necessary, we can arrange to have a on-site meeting with the Conservation Authority so they're able to see the surroundings and understand the context of the application better.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. I'm shocked that the Conservation Authority, with all the resources, hasn't been out there to see it.
Me too.
Yeah. So now need a mover and a seconder, folks, for a deferral. Okay, Catherine and Paul.
I second.
So I'm gonna go on this application. It's been moved by Catherine, seconded by Paul, that application D13-2023-015 be deferred. All in favor?
Bruce, yes.
Catherine, yes?
Yes.
And I am also carried. This, hold on, what's the next one? Oh, no, you're over there. Right, done. Save and paper.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So we're at Prince Street, right? Okay, next on the agenda is D13 2023 018 1113 Prince Street. Amanda, can you tell us if they're here in person or online or whatever? Read the application, please.
Yes, the owners are just coming to the podium here. So I'll read the purpose. The updated application is requesting a minor variance to obtain zoning relief from the minimum setback for commercial patio from the street line to permit the establishment of a commercial patio on the north and west facing porches of the existing building. The application is also requesting relief from the site triangle provision to permit both proposed portions of the proposed commercial patio to encroach a maximum of 3 meters into the site triangle.
So Kyle or it's you, Marnie? Okay, Marnie, would you like to kind of summarize it for us, please?
Certainly, thank you. Through you, so this application was deferred from the August meeting because there was an amendment to the application to reduce the site triangle from 6 meters to 3 meters, which wasn't part of the originally advertised application. With respect to that, the application has been circulated. Staff have reviewed it. However, in addition to staff reviewing the application, there were concerns with the reduction of the site triangle given the geometry of the intersection and concerns with respect to public health and safety. Some of those concerns were also identified by the committee at the meeting in August. So in order to address the requested reduction of the site triangle, staff retained the services of Steve Taylor from BT Engineering. I would note that he is online if there's any questions with respect to that. Following staff's review, the recommendation is that the patio on the north side of the property be approved subject to compliance with the 6 meter site triangle setback, and that the property or the proposed patio on the west side on Prince Street or County Road 3 not be recommended for approval. There's a number of public submissions in addition to some other technical comments that have been received that the secretary has.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, we have a few public comments.
Yes. So we'll just go over the original submissions from July. The written, let's see. So our original agency comments was from the Conservation Authority with no objections and the Ministry of Transportation with no concerns. But then we received public comments from the original submission from Mary Gallia, expressing concerns with pedestrian clearway, which allows patrons the ability to enter and exit the patio safely away from the traffic or parked vehicles, and requests that the township review these guidelines and make any necessary changes to the existing policies to ensure the safety of pedestrians. Lindsay Lambert, our senior planner, responded to Ms. Gallia advising that the guidelines are for commercial patios within the municipal right-of-way, and this proposal is to be located entirely within the private property and that the guidelines do not apply. We received comments from Christine Makzolski, a neighbor, expressing concerns with traffic at an already precarious intersection, parking and or lack thereof, safety and personal reasons related to feeling safe and happy in her own home. We received a second letter from Mary Gallia expressing concerns that the intersection is dangerous with a blind spot, that the speed limit has been lowered from 50 kilometers to 40 kilometers. King Street East is a one-way street. Pedestrians will use King Street East to walk on as the sidewalk is not accessible due to the uneven concrete, parking concerns, large delivery truck issues, safety of the patrons, noise concerns, children riding bikes, Prince Street being an emergency route for all emergency vehicles responding at high speed, the resale value of homes, and increased risk of disputes and problems associated with alcohol. We received new written agency comments, and that was from the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville. They're indicated that the letter agreeing with BTE that allowing, that was a traffic study, allowing a patio in the daylight on the southeast of the intersection of County Roads 3 and 34, which is Prince and King Streets, is not a good idea. Besides the potential impediment to sight lines, there's also the visual distraction of activity in the immediate vicinity of a busy intersection. The county's Public Works does not support adding a patio at this intersection in its current configuration. Saying this, the county does, however, support working with the TLTI and having BTE look at a possible improvements to the intersection. We also received written comments with no objections, and I'm just going to read them out as they were already, the comments were available for review prior to the meeting. So written public comments in support from Beverly Ralph, David Dossett, Don Foley, Jamie Siklowski, John Sorensen, JP and Barb Jackson, Krista Johns, Lorna Wines, Terry Dawson, Janice Metcalf, Heavenly LaBelle, Lisa Modler, Krista Van Slingerland, Evan Massey, Allison Gerard, Jill Jefferson, Victoria Peters, Cindy Barkley, Betty Lee Daigle, David Dossett in a second letter of no objection, Kathleen Humans, David Hale, Suzanne Robertson, and Fred Lapan and Laura Cote, all with no objections. And that is all the written comments we have received.
So for public comments, is there anyone in the audience in attendance that wishes to speak to the application? Yes. State your name and address, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is David Dossett. I live in Kingston, Ontario, and in 2015, I opened a store called Martello Alley, which was in a very dirty alley downtown Kingston. And then right before COVID, I reopened another store that had closed not far away on Brock Street. And so that is Martello on Brock. And I want to state that
Your mic isn't working.
No, hold on.
It was working.
Oh, okay, thank you. And I'm a computer programmer, so that doesn't look very good, does it? So I want to point out why I'm here, because you're wondering why I made the trip to Kingston from Kingston to be here. I was initially planning to do this via the web meeting, but I thought it's important enough for me to be here. So I'll let you know why I'm here. As an owner of these two stores, especially Martello Alley, it's a rather funky store. It's open almost every single day of the year. It's not only a store, it's a tourist attraction in Kingston, and you can see that it's the #1 attraction in Kingston now. So I look at my business in a different way, and what happened was somehow the folks who were doing the work on this lovely gem that you have here, who are the applicants today, they got my attention. And I thought this was a funky, quirky little place, and I mean that in the best possible ways. And I thought that this is something I should follow. I should help promote if I can. Unfortunately, until today, I haven't had the chance to get out here in person because we are open every day and we are very short-staffed and they don't let me out much. But I'm glad to be here to support them. I sympathize and I empathize with them. Now, I also want to point out, because my letter was kind of extensive and you just stated that I was in support of the application, I want to point out a little bit about my background. I have experience in downtown Kingston. My family has done a lot of development in Kingston, and I've been involved in it. I've dealt with a lot of planners. I've dealt with a lot of politicians. I've been on, did I mention I was on Committee of Adjustment? So I understand how that works. I am very deeply involved with the downtown community in Kingston and quite aware of issues revolving around traffic and traffic concerns and distractions. I can tell you we have a lot more distractions after looking at this intersection and reviewing it. We have a lot more serious distractions in downtown Kingston, but it's never really been a problem. So I'm kind of scratching my head at this. And with all due respect to the planner, I have worked with and known a lot of planners, but I was kind of scratching my head at some of the things that were brought up as concerns by the planner, especially the site triangle. And if somebody else has explained that more eloquently, and I'll let them speak. But I don't understand why the site triangle has to include a portion of the building that you can actually not see through. So, I mean, through all of this, I was really quite surprised that it was so difficult to get this passed. That's why I'm here. And I'd like to state that with the experience I have in running my business, I've learned many things. And one of the things I've learned is it's very, very hard to bring people from the highway down into the town and into your store. And I think that these folks have done your community a great service by creating this jewel, because if I did not run my business, but I was traveling back and forth between Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, or whatever, and I was looking at, interesting things to do while my wife was driving, this would show up and I would say, let's take a turn, let's get off the highway and go down and visit these folks. And when they're here, not only are they going to be benefiting them, they're going to be benefiting all the other businesses in your community. So I really encourage you to support this application. And I think that's all I can say right now. Do you ask any questions of me? Or not?
Not usually.
Okay.
Don't, unless something really stuck in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the committee? Yep, come ahead up to the podium there.
I'm afraid to touch it.
No.
Is it on?
Yep, you just need to pull it down towards yourself there. There you go. And we just need your name.
Thank
for the
you. My name's Kathleen Newmans. I live at on Red Horse Lake at R1 Lyndhurst. And I just wanted to, I did send in a letter of support, but I also wanted to add my own few other comments in support of this great endeavor. Most of the concerns I read in the engineer's report and the planner's report were all around safety issues at that corner that we are all aware of. But the Tipsy Goat shouldn't be responsible for the safety issues at that corner that this township and this county has known about forever, certainly longer than I've been here. The fact is, we're talking about 10 people on your patio at any given time. We're not talking about 100 people lounging about, drinking beer and having a party. It's 5 or 10 people having a drink and a bite to eat while they're shopping throughout the town. The Rapid Valley got a license for liquor in the past, and their clientele, their numbers didn't change drastically. It didn't become a rowdy bar. It's the way it was before. And the owners just have more, excuse me, more options to supply to their customers, which I think is what the Tipsy Goat's trying to do. We also all know that there's a existing patio on the opposite corner. It's been there forever. 5 to 10 people sit around on that patio 2 or 3 times a day, generally throughout the entire year, with vehicles parked there as well. There hasn't been any complaints about it. The township, the county have not asked for a planner's report or an engineer's report about the possible dangers at that patio. So I don't know why so much effort and so much concern has been put forward on a little patio of another 5 to 10 people. The engineer's report also talked about pedestrian traffic, basically from the hilltop to the grocery store. That is an issue, and that would remain an issue. An additional patio on the other side may actually help, because people would be crossing in the visible line rather than the invisible line. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there Don't want to miss anybody else. Is there anybody back there? Yeah, sure. Come ahead.
Hi, I'm Mary Galley. I was here last meeting and I stand with what for the objection because I live right next door and I'm concerned about the safety. But the reason why I got up to address everybody here is the township affords us our right to be able to come to these meetings, give our opinions, and we do it in a respectful way. And I appreciate the process that we have. What I didn't expect after last meeting was to be bullied and ostracized on Facebook by this business. Had pictures taken of our neighbors that have been really good to me. I was diagnosed 1.5 years ago with terminal cancer. I have my neighbors pulling their weight, cutting my grass, snow blowing my driveway, really, really helping me. One of the comments on Facebook was, "Oh, Mary had to clean leaves up for 2 hours, big woo." It was a big deal, big woo. I had bone cancer. I was on a walker. I was upset they blew leaves into my yard and into the road. My neighbors actually came to my aid and helped me clean up those leaves. So I kept it very, very professional the last meeting that we were at. But I truly am going to give some personal. The reason why I object to the licensed patio is because they have not been respectful living beside me. Their music is blaring, which scares me that if they do get a patio, I'm already being woke up all through the night. I've had neighbors asking them in a respectful way to please keep the music down. Your next door neighbor is very ill. And I'm not talking just a little bit of loud tunes. My walls shake in my bedroom. I had to sleep on the couch on Saturday night. I'm assuming because they were upset because of this report. And I just think it's very unfair that people can't come to this forum and speak in a respectful way, what their opinion is, keep it professional without having to hurt all of our community that they say are going to be their future clients. You can't come to this town and insult everybody. We all know we're all related to everybody here. We all know that, right? So thank you for the time. That's all I wanted to say.
Is there anyone else in the?
We're seeing no other hands in the audience and no one online.
Okay, thank you. So committee members. Oh. Yes. Yes. Yep, you go ahead.
We'd like to share our screen on the Zoom meeting, please.
Yeah, I think it's up there now. Okay.
So I'm going to run through a timeline fairly briefly, and then I'll have some comments around the county response, the engineer's report, and the planner's report. So let's start right here. This building was built in 1881 as a hotel. You can see the patio was in use as of this picture in 1908 for commercial purpose. In 1910, Landbound Hardware Store was open, the iconic hardware store that everybody comes and tells us the stories about with Jim and Catherine. Here's some encumbrance in the intersection. in 1965. In 2007, TLTI implemented zoning bylaws. This is a picture after the zoning bylaws were implemented from 2009, straight from Google. It's date stamped. What we can see here is we have a single entrance on the corner of the building. There's a vending machine in the quote unquote site triangle. We can see the new concrete was poured, and we can see the existing patio that has since been rebuilt to a larger dimension than the patio that you see here. In 2014, First Impressions Community Exchange report recorded dangerous pedestrian intersection at Prince and King and proposed very specific requests such as adding traffic control and improving sidewalks. In July of 2019, BTE, who had been hired by the township, provided its 156-page master transportation plan. In 2022, December, I contacted the township and emailed the director of operations some proposals to help us delineate our parking area and preserve vehicle travel through the down King Street east. A week later, on December 13th, we had a site visit with Melanie Knowles and David Holliday, again discussing some of these issues and requesting physical infrastructure at the corner and road striping to delineate parking. A very interesting comment made by Melanie Knowles, who was the county engineer, when we proposed having Jersey barriers or concrete planters, is that we couldn't do that because if a car hit them, it might kill the driver. If a car hit a barrier to protect people, it would kill the driver. So, one of the reasons that's so important is because planning and engineering is all around drivers, and it's not about pedestrians. And it's a known problem in our society throughout the world. And, we're clearly very late to the game to improve that attitude. On March 10th of this year, we received an email from the county planner stating that the county has no role in the application. And the county copied Melanie and Paul Nixon. We began our pre-consultation and variance application process on that same day on March 10th. On April 14th of this year, we had a meeting here in the office with Lindsay and Marnie to discuss our pre-application. Marnie proposed that we use our private parking area on Mary's side of our house as a patio space. And we said we did not want to do that for obvious reasons. And then the township, Marnie proposed building a deck on the south side of our house, also adjacent to a private residence, which would involve significant applications, building permits, engineering fees, etc. It was fairly evident at this point that the township was not wanting us to use our patio space. Later that day, we received approval from Lindsay Lambert that we could place 1 to 2 bistro tables on the north patio as a trial. We met with Lindsay again 10 days later on the 24th, and we wanted to place a patio, 1 table on the west side and 1 table on the north side. And we had questions around capacity issues. Lindsay, then that was approved to place 1 table on each side of the patio. Our variance finally got submitted on June 15th. On July 19th, I emailed David Holliday regarding improving the road painting and helping our parking. I did not receive a response. On July 19th, the planner's report came out approving patio use on both sides, improving the setback variance, but imposing the 6-meter site triangle that runs directly through our building. That day, the same day that the planner's report came out, we requested a site visit from Marnie or Lindsay to discuss the site triangle. And we received a response from Marnie that said that just gave the description of a site triangle and said that she was too busy for a visit. Here's a picture from July 23rd, 4 days after Marnie's telling me what a site triangle is, with site triangle violations. The township does not enforce site triangles, except when we're trying to use ours for a commercial purpose. Our initial COA hearing was on July 25th, and that decision was deferred based on my response to questions around the site triangle. On August 3rd, the TLTI road crew was kind enough to install flexible delineators around the corner to help push traffic away from the building, which was something that had been worked on for months. On August 23rd, I once again emailed David Holliday the questions when the road painting was getting done, and I received no response. On September 6th, we had a site visit from Lindsay, Marnie, and David as well, David Holliday, a site visit to review what the variance application was for, and I had striped the setback, and as well I'd striped the site triangle. And so Marnie says that it's not only a site triangle, but it's also a safety triangle, but then also states that she's not qualified to make that determination. And at that point, she informed us that the township has already engaged an engineer, and David Holliday proposed that we build a deck on the south side of our house next to the residence. On September 15th, BTE did their site visit. We were not contacted ahead of the site visit to present any questions. On September 21st, the BTE report came in, and the township immediately accepts the report, does not seek additional advice, makes no attempt to seek alternative safety solutions. This is not supporting small business. On the 25th, which was yesterday, David Holliday emailed the BTE report to Bill Guy at the county, soliciting support for the decision to deny our patio. And Bill Guy responded back saying that he advises to not add a patio. So just a reminder that back in March, the county planner said that the county has no jurisdiction over whether we use our existing patio. That's a timeline. I'm going to quickly run through the county response. The county specifically said, I reviewed your attachments and agree with BTE that allowing a patio in the daylighting on the southeast of the intersection is not a good idea. So if he states that no patio in the daylighting of the intersection, it implies that the remainder of the patio space could be okay. Second point, besides the potential impediment to sightlines, there is also the visual distraction of activity in the immediate vicinity of a busy intersection. This is just subjective. I don't know what this means. There's no measurements. I don't know what immediate vicinity means. It's an intersection. It has sidewalks on 3 of the sides. I suppose that people should be allowed to walk on the sidewalks and use the intersection. Third point, the county's public works does not support adding a patio at this intersection in its current configuration. There's no request to add a patio. final statement from the county. Saying this, the counties does, however, support working with TLTI and having BTE look at possible improvements to the intersection. BTE performed a master transportation plan in July of 2019. We concurrently engaged the county and the township in 2022 to improve the intersection, specifically at this corner. No improvements have been implemented at this intersection since the master transportation plan that were not instigated by us.
Is it possible you could come back and say after us?
Hi,
Okay.
Steve. Are you speaking into your phone? We just can't hear you very well. Okay. Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
Okay, so we have some questions around the engineer's report. There are a few items in the engineer's report, and then there are some conclusions at the end. So he comments, one of the comments is the dimensions, the daylighting triangle are not intended to provide an exact triangle, but rather to observe a pedestrian crossing to the northbound driver's right, period. They will already be within the crosswalk. So I just don't understand that comment. And I also don't understand how pushing the sight triangle into the physical constraints of the railing in the building help somebody see that person. You cannot see through the building. Another comment, the speed of travel of northbound drivers should be based on a design speed that exceeds the posted speed by 10 kilometers per hour. So it was us that got the speed limit lowered through the proper channels, through the process of getting a petition, and got the speed limit lowered from 50 kilometers per hour to 40 kilometers per hour. If the design speed for 40 is 50, then the design speed for 50 is 60. So, I mean, let's keep in mind the township claims to protect public safety, but they're okay with people driving 60 kilometers an hour over this blind corner. And one question I have is if any sightline distance calculation has been done. I didn't see it in the initial master plan from BTE, but I didn't have time to look through 156 pages. Another comment. Today, the provision of decision sight distance for northbound drivers is to allow the observation of pedestrians crossing the street from the east to the west, destined to the grocery store. The predominant travel for people going across the street is they actually come to our corner where there's the unmarked crosswalk, and they cross there because they inherently know it's safer. And as well, we're not witnessing it right now, but there's a significant amount of parents walking children and children walking across this intersection to go to school. And I think that that's kind of washed out by saying that the traffic is destined to the grocery store. Another comment. The hill for northbound drivers precludes making this an all-way stop intersection. The previous transportation master plan identified long-term protection for implementation of a roundabout when property is available. So my question is, what property would the township like to tear down to build a roundabout? And how big does that roundabout have to be to accommodate transports? So in my initial response to the sight triangle, I proposed that since you can't see through a building and the 6 meters encroaches into the building, that distance should be shorter. And BTE explained that that doesn't apply for a reason that I don't understand because I'm not a traffic engineer. So, some clarification on that would be advantageous. Engineering report conclusions. And there were 6. I just have a few to discuss. So 1 says there should be no relaxation of the constraint of the daylight sight triangle for visibility to the crosswalk. Okay, the building and the guardrail already force a smaller sight triangle. So we're not relaxing anything. We're just facing the reality that the building exists long before the road was there. His fourth conclusion, there should be no further encumbrance on the west side of the lot with either fixed patio uses or the associated pedestrian activity that would occur with the patio land use adjacent to the county road. This to me is ultimately what this entire meeting is about. So the patio is separated from the county road by a township sidewalk. The entrance to our building is on the corner where it's always been, as we can see from the pictures we've shown. So the questions then become, what is the current level of encumbrance? What is the anticipated level of encumbrance with increased interior capacity? What is the increase of encumbrance difference with if we use patio space? And what is an acceptable level of encumbrance? And does the township want us to have any level of pedestrian traffic into our establishment? Or is it just that the more is bad is the only answer we need, and that's good enough to say no? So I want to point out that 100% of our patrons are pedestrians and 0% of our patrons are cars. Number 5, there should be no parking adjacent to the county road on the hill. I mean, this isn't about parking. It's not particularly an issue for us, but it is, and there is a TLTI zoning bylaw that states that we do not have to provide any off-street parking. Number 6, land use on the north side of the property can be maintained or a patio use that is not further obstructing the line of sight of the corner of the building for northbound drivers. So this implies that the building is in fact dominating the sight triangle and the sight line on the north side. So why isn't it also dominating the sight line on the west side? It is my opinion there's a picture from the south side. So I failed to see how somebody sitting in that table that you can barely see is obstructing anything at all. It's my opinion that this report is very qualitative, highly subjective. The report provides no quantitative assessment, no measurements, no elevations, no diagrams, no surveys, and no technical references. So on to the planner's report and my wrap up. So the statement in the planner's report says specifically exactly the township supports economic growth through small businesses. However, when presented with professional recommendations with respect to the protection of public safety, staff must defer to avoidance wherever possible of development outcomes that are likely to create undue adverse impacts from a safety perspective. On consideration of the public safety considerations related to the variances requested through this application, the zoning relief for the proposed north-facing patio has been found to meet the forecast of a minor variance, whereas the relief requested to encroach within the defined site triangle and the reduction in setback for the proposed west-facing patio have been found to not meet all four tests. So the township claimed to support economic growth. Stating support for economic growth and supporting economic growth are not the same. The township has lost between 9 and 11 businesses just since 2014. The township collects property taxes, including the $19,095 we have paid in the last 4 years, and then applies taxpayer funds to actively impede our business. The township claims to run like a business, but instead is a monopoly that would face liquidation against any reasonable competition. The township claimed to protect public safety. Claiming protection of public safety and protecting public safety are not the same. Few of the problems identified in 2019 BTE report have been addressed. This intersection at Prince and King has been problematic for decades. Since acquiring the building in 2019, we have initiated 3 improvements, including lowering the speed limit on Prince Street, improving one-way signage on King Street East, and installing flexible delineators on the southeast corner. The remainder of our requests have not been addressed. While road paint, signs, and flexible delineators are not physical infrastructure, stopgap measures are valid and work. The obvious solution for improving safety in the village and throughout the township include physical infrastructure, traffic calming measures, and the elephant in the room, which is reducing the speed limit through the intersection. Instead of working to seek solutions and promote activity, the township wastes taxpayer funds to hire professionals who suggest that activity at Lansdowne's iconic hardware store location is burdensome. The township is attempting to eliminate 2/3 of our patio space, including the preferred half on the west side, which sits high above the roadway, has a barrier in place, and was deemed safe by this township only 2 months ago. I obtained my engineering degree from the University of California, an internationally renowned university, and I did so in just 3 years. I'm currently employed as an engineering advisor at a Fortune 500 company. An engineer identifies risks and opportunities and works to mitigate and exploit them. If a simple off-the-shelf solution is not readily available, an engineer methodically increases their radius of investigation and works to create solutions. ETE made no attempt to seek alternative solutions. The township made no attempt to seek additional advice. Alternatives could be implemented to promote our small business while currently enhancing pedestrian safety, just as many other communities have done in recent years. This township instead sought a lazy, anti-business answer that does nothing to improve our community, ignores community support, and claims to do so all under the guise of safety.
Okay, we're opening it up to committee members. My initial question is to our Director of Planning. Should we deny this application, will there still be a site triangle problem at that corner?
Through you. So the site triangle, I think there's some misunderstanding with respect to the site triangle. The zoning bylaw defines and requires a 6-meter site triangle. Yes, there is building located in the site triangle at this location, and that's because it's an existing non-complying situation. So there's recognition that there's an existing non-complying situation, but to introduce a new land use, which is a commercial patio. So the area shown around the property is a sidewalk and has been used as a sidewalk and an entrance around the building, as could be seen in the photos that were shown. The use of a commercial patio as defined by the zoning bylaw is a patio where people are sitting and patrons of the restaurant or patrons of somewhere sitting and using the patio space. So that is a new use at this site, which is why the variance is required. The zoning bylaw requires a 0.5 meter setback from the road, which is the street line on this property. So given the non-complying location and configuration of the property, that's the sidewalk around the building is at a 0 lot line setback. So there's the variance required for the 0.5 meter setback, as well as the site triangle. So as has been identified in the zoning bylaw, the 6-meter site triangle setback, it would be, the building does encroach in it, but to allow a commercial patio use within that area further increases the non-compliance of this existing situation. So yes, there would continue to be a site triangle issue there regardless, because it's an existing condition. I'd also defer to Mr. Taylor if there are any questions around the site triangle at this location.
Okay, further, I'm looking at the report from the county's Bill Guy. And he says the county's public works does not support adding a patio at this intersection in its current configuration. Saying this, the county does, however, support working with TLTI and having BTE look at possible improvements to the intersection. That's point 1. Further in the BTE recommendations, says recommendations for further investigation based on a site visit with township staff on Friday, September 15th, 2023. We described that there are roadway modifications that should be considered on both township and county roads that can improve safety on the intersection. The proposed improvements and work program are documented in a separate submission. This describes that improvements are possible that will reduce the throat of the intersection, that can allow greater space on King Street East frontage for the business. It would be our recommendation that the cafe land be allowed on King Street East in bracket by permit if using lands owned by the township, and that the size be determined by that functional design. I'm personally of the opinion that I stated this at the initial hearing, that I have no issue with the west patio as long as the northern portion of it is not used. And that, I mean, the portion that would fall within the site triangle. So to deny the owners use of their property, that we have to agree that the problem with the site triangle is going to be there regardless of approval or not. But I see absolutely no reason why some seating cannot be allowed on the west patio. The township prides itself on being open for business, and that is what I would like to promote. One of the correspondents, I'm just looking, it is, no, that's for another one. Anyhow, this one here by previous speaker this afternoon, Catherine Humans, to withhold or deny the application because of ongoing municipal problems is not appropriate or fair. If safety truly is a sense, then fix the corner. So I think it is incumbent upon our council to look into this. When I mention council, I also I want to mention that this application has aired quite significantly on social media, and our council has taken a bit of a beating on this, and they shouldn't be. Council has absolutely no impact or input into our decision, and they are legally not able to. It's actually against the law for councillors or mayor to try and influence our decision in any way. So give the councillors a break. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to begin by suggesting that we give an opportunity to Steve Taylor if he has any comments to make, and then I will have some questions.
Mr. Taylor, would you like to address the committee?
Yeah, it's how's the volume?
Oh, good.
Oh, good.
No problem.
So my background is traffic and transportation, and 35-year career in Ontario, Canada, North America, and abroad. I professional engineer in Ontario, other states. I am one of the North American transportation value engineers. I do review of projects across North America. I'm CEO of BTE. I'm a fellow of the Institute of Transportation Engineers, and I do this type of work where we provide comments to municipalities across the province. The reason I've done it for the company is I actually have one of our residents in the township, so I know the intersection well. I've been in that building 1,000 times when it was a hardware store run by Jim and Catherine, so I do know well. So what I've done is I've done 2 submissions, as you actually have heard today. The first one was just a review on the application and the 2 locations for the cafe. So the site triangles that you guys have been talking about are different for different intersections between a one-way street and a two-way street. In this location, because it's to be a one-way street going east and on King East, the safety consideration is the one crossing maneuver for pedestrians that are going across the crosswalk and then beside the intersection. It is used by the pedestrians, and it's the one area that's blocked by vehicles that are coming northbound up the hill. So my opinion is the safety concern is a driver recognizing a pedestrian going across the crosswalk. We typically have those sight triangles so that people have good visibility around the corner. This is a particularly poor location because it's got a lot of activity and distraction for drivers to try to pick up a pedestrian that's going across the crosswalk. It's also poor because pedestrians that are making a crossing across the street, they start their crossing before they get to the paint line for the road. They leave the sidewalk and they walk several meters before they get there, and they've already started to do the crossing. There should be enough time and space for a driver coming up to recognize a pedestrian, a young pedestrian, and make change his behavior before he gets there. The obstruction in the sight triangle, forget about the building, is just beyond the building, trying to keep it free of space so drivers can see past the building. Today, there's a railing that obstructs the view. That shouldn't have been allowed. But if the cafe use was going to go on the west side, there'd be other activity. They typically have people there. There are people standing. There can be umbrellas in the summer that block the view. And there can be people waiting for tables that block and provide activity on the corner that's different than people just entering into the building. We're trying to protect the site past that corner. So my opinion was that the cafe use shouldn't be allowed to occur on the west side of the building, but should be restricted to the north side in a location that can be outside the visibility issue with the pedestrian crossing. My second submission, which is one based on my site inspection with the township, was that there are opportunities to improve the safety for both pedestrian safety at the intersection. There's different technologies now available that aren't for providing better visibility to pedestrian crossing and activation as a PXO. It can be considered in combination with the county because it's their road. And my suggestion is that you change the throat of the intersection, delineate it. I put curb and gutter, and the throat would be reduced in width. It would reduce the likelihood of any vehicle coming from the east, coming westbound illegally. And it would define the location for vehicles that are going eastbound. It would provide better delineation for pedestrians on the north crosswalk of where they should make their move. And it would be farther out in the street than it is today. And it would create space either on the north side or the south side for more parking or space for a cafe. There's competing alternatives, and it can include parking that's farther down King Street. So without any changes, my opinion is that it shouldn't be on the west side. It should only be located on the north side. And if it goes across the property line in the township lands, it should be by permit. And that's typical of road authorities. If they give up land use of their space, it's by permit. And one of the other comments, somebody asked the question if the road authority can restrict land use activity. And yes, it's within the mandate of the ministry, the county, the townships. For public safety, they can restrict land uses for public safety. And this is a public safety issue. So I could give more information, but that's basically the basis of my opinion. It should be on the north side, not the west side. And there are opportunities to improve safety if it was initiated by the township by a review. And I'd be happy to, through the chair, to answer any site-specific questions.
I'm going to refer it back to Catherine. It was her turn to speak.
Thank you. I have no further questions for you. I just will make a comment at this point. I strongly support the creation of a cafe patio on the north side of the building. I have strong reservations about the east side. Again, I agree with the issue of public safety. I think that there is a safety issue.
You mean the
west side, sorry.
The west side.
West side,
Okay,
east
good.
side, west side.
No,
Yeah,
no.
west side. So thank you. I'm not directionally challenged. On the west side of the building, I think Bruce was wondering out loud if there was some possible opportunity of taking into consideration the sight line on the west side patio and pushing the approval back. So when I visited the site, there were 3 tables on the west side patio, one at the very end, one sort of in the middle, and then one at the edge, which would have been in the sight line. The one from my perspective that is of most concern is the one on the northern edge. And so I am going to ask, I guess, the planner what the implications would be of perhaps approving a portion of that west side patio beyond the sight line for a minor.
You mean the north side?
No, I'm talking about the west side.
Through you, if that's within the committee's desire to approve that in part, then that could be done. We'd have to amend the recommendation. It would be, as you've indicated, I believe, outside of the site triangle.
That's correct. I do not want to see the site triangle violated. I think there's a good reason for it. And I have, in 45 years, I've seen lots of stuff happen at that corner, right? And so I'm quite convinced that there is a safety issue near the corner, but I'm less concerned about the southerly portion of the west side patio.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Paul, you got something to add?
Yeah, I guess my question would be to either Mr. Taylor or Marnie.
Closer, Paul.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
That's it.
what the possibility of entering into an agreement on the north side to increase the space that they would possibly lose on the west side.
For clarification, are you talking about within the road allowance?
Yes, within the road allowance and what the width of the road allowance is.
I don't know the exact width of the road allowance there. However, it's much wider than any other of the road allowances in the area. As indicated by Mr. Taylor, we have asked BTE for a proposal with respect to looking at that area and the intersection to look at proper alignment for parking and space and options for the use of that space. So should the applicants choose to come forward with a request of council to use a portion of the road allowance to make up some patio space there, obviously we would need to look at it from a safety perspective and report to council with respect to that. And there would need to be council approval and an agreement to use a portion of the road allowance for increased patio area. Mr. Taylor has indicated that it's likely there's possibly some options there for that as a seasonal use, but it would need to be reviewed from a safety perspective. But it's a pretty common practice in a lot of municipalities, as you can see from patios located on municipal right-of-ways, that councils do entertain those types of requests. So we would need more details about the size and area and what it would look like, and to work with an engineer to make sure that it's safe. But I think that it would be an opportunity to consider. The applicant actually identified that we did mention that previously as an option for consideration.
Okay, thank you. Since we're so far into the season, I don't think a patio is like most people are wrapping up their patios, whether we look at that option going forward and defer this application one more time.
Okay. Oh, yes, Marnie.
Sorry, through you, just for clarification, that's a completely separate process. So what's in front of the committee would be with respect to whether it's appropriate to allow a patio on the north side of the building outside of the site triangle. If there's any consideration for the use of the municipal road allowance for a commercial patio, that's a separate request that needs to come forward to council through a different mechanism. So what's in front of this committee only relates to what's on the subject property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
This is Dan. I have a question for Mr. Taylor. Counselor Terry Fody is here. He came out a few years ago and chatted with us about the intersection. At that time, he suggested closing off King Street East with Jersey barriers. So my question to you is, would entirely closing off King Street to traffic, to eastbound traffic from the village, would that relieve our site triangle requirement?
Through the chair. So it wouldn't change the site visibility of the intersection, because it's not a visibility of vehicles exiting that side. It's the issue of visibility of the pedestrians crossing at the crosswalk. And the Jersey barriers would probably restrict some of the visibility of the pedestrians on the north side.
You have another comment you wanted to make to him, or? No?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I guess I'll weigh in last. I kind of agree with what Bruce had to say on the west side. A partial use, but that doesn't look like it might be near as appropriate for your business. If I was looking at it as if you could come to some kind of an agreement like they have in Gananoque to use some of the municipal property on the north side, nobody seems to have an issue with it. Like to enlarge it. I looked at your scale drawing. It's only 150 square feet on that west side patio. That's, 5 by 30, whatever. And have that or more maybe even added on the township property as a seasonal use. You wouldn't be using it in the wintertime on snow plowing. It's already a one-way street. Like I said before, we lived down on the bottom of that before for 6-7 years. And there's a lot of stuff being said about that being a dangerous intersection. Well, I spent 15 years driving all over North America in a truck. I started when I was 17. And I lived there, and I kept trucks there for 7 years, and it wasn't a one-way street. And I have yet to see an accident. I don't know what all the commotion is. And I'm a country boy, so when I used to go to Perth, stop, look both ways before you cross the street. And it's 40 kilometer an hour coming up there. I don't think that is the safety issue that everybody's making it. This sightline thing, when we came here, Ross Johnson owned that hardware store, and then Monty Crawford, which was before Jim and Catherine. So I've known the area for a long time. That sightline, if you look at it, the building is there. You can't move it. You're not going to, that isn't going to change anything. But for safety's sake and everything, I would like to propose, if this isn't something that's horrible, and I'll ask Marnie this, that if we deferred this, what would be the likelihood of them being able to work something out to have property, like Paul had said, on the north side? And maybe they could even have a little more, it would make a lot more sense all around. And it's a one-way street already, so there's traffic shouldn't be an issue. I'll put that to you.
It's through you. The variance is still required.
Yes.
On the north side of the building.
Yeah.
With respect to anything within a township road allowance, we can't apply any variances, or we can only do variances on the property as it exists. So as I said, it's a completely separate process for review through operations and recommendation to council for allowing a use within the road allowance. There's work that needs to be done here, as has been indicated by Mr. Taylor and our director of operations in terms of looking at this area. So I think it's separate and distinct from the variance that's before the committee. And that if the committee deals with the variance and the applicant has a decision in hand, that will help support a future request to council should they decide that they want to locate a patio within a township road allowance.
Okay, thank you. Then what I'm going to propose to committee members, that we could approve the use on the north side today, and the portion of the west side that's out of their triangle sight line, and leave it that in the future, hopefully between now and spring, the applicant could maybe work with township to increase that north side area. And if that were approved, they would not use that west side. I don't know how all the legal, you can't do that, eh? Can't do that, eh?
So through you, just for clarification, either the variance is appropriate and desirable for the property
Or it's not.
or it's not.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to move this along. I think it's taken up enough time. I go with my original that I have no issue with the west patio as long as it's not intruding into the sight line. Mr. Taylor mentions the railing that's on that west patio that possibly shouldn't have been permitted, but we're talking safety here, and I think the railing's there for a reason. I think, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, I'm not the chair, but I think unless somebody in the audience or committee member have something else to add, I think it's time to vote, but that's up to Jim, sorry.
Catherine.
I agree with your proposed approach, Bruce. And I've spoken to that. So, but I would urge some speed here. Not to mix metaphors or anything like that, but this is the central intersection of the village. And it is basically, by my take, a mess. And so I think, I know we cannot put this in a decision, but there are members of council here and the public is here. And I think this is a matter of some urgency, in part related to this particular issue, but more generally, it's a mess. And so something needs to be done sometime before the next 5 years are up.
But we can't change that. Paul, have you anything else you'd like to add, or what your thoughts are?
Yeah, I think we should defer it and see if they can come back and.
Yeah, okay, Dan, is it?
Just a few final comments. So again, the west side of the patio is preferred because it's a nice place to sit. It's in the sunshine. Because of the height of the building, it's the entire north side is in the shade all day. We're not asking for that. Marnie directed us towards David Holiday if we did want to get seating in that parking area. And David responded to me. He said there's a process for doing that. We have to indemnify the township of responsibility, and then we have to pay for more insurance, and then we have to build railing. And that's really not what we want to do. I mean, we heard Mary's comments. Mary doesn't want us to have a patio on the street facing her house. And so, I mean, that's the solution that we don't want and the neighbors don't want. So quite frankly, that's not our preferred solution. If that's an option for later, then that's an option for later. But we're not asking for that. We're not asking for a deferral on of any sort. I mean, it sounds to me like Chairman Kehoe and Mr. Craig are in support of partial use of the west patio. And if that's what we get out of here today, then that takes us back to where we were 2 months ago with the original township recommendation, and we'll just have to live with it.
Anybody else want to weigh in? So as I see it, what we're voting on, and I think we're all in agreement, is they could use the north side and the west side outside the triangle. The committee members were all okay with that, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to go over the resolution with you, which will then be incorporated into the decision. It says that application D13 2023-018 be approved to permit the establishment of a commercial patio on the north and west side of the existing building with the following conditions. 1, in accordance with the commercial patio site triangle provisions of section 3.6D of zoning bylaws 07079, the commercial patio is required to be set back a minimum of 6 meters from the point of the intersection of the street lines of County Road 3, Prince Street, and King Street. that the permitted commercial patio on the north and west facing existing porch be physically separated from the township road allowance. The owner shall work with the township and BTE Engineering Incorporated on the details of this requirement. The owner shall implement and maintain the physical separation of the commercial patio from the township right-of-way to the satisfaction of the Township Planning and Development Department. That the requested minor variance to permit the establishment of a commercial patio on the west side of the existing building at 0 meters from the existing street line of County Road 3 and Prince Street as shown on the attached Schedule A of the decision is approved. And that the requested minor variance to permit encroachment of the commercial patio a maximum of 3 meters into the site triangle on the north and west sides of the existing building as shown on Schedule A of the decision is denied. So that is saying that the site triangle is not permitted to be used.
Can I add one more thing? And I'll speak to you folks, I'll speak to you folks. I would like to add something in there and hopefully to, I don't know whether mitigate or what would be the right word, noise. Like if it's an outdoor patio, whatever, that's fine. But that there is a noise limitation on it. Yes, Mark.
Through you, that would be enforced through our noise bylaw, so that would be separate from the zoning bylaw.
Very good. That's good. Good to hear. Okay. So I need a mover and a seconder for the motion.
I will gladly move.
Moved by Bruce,
Catherine second.
seconded by Catherine. I don't have to read that all again, do I?
No, it just says exactly what it says.
So we're ready to vote.
Yeah.
Okay, moved by Bruce, seconded by Catherine, that application D13 2023 018 be approved to prevent the establishment of a commercial patio on the north side of existing buildings with the following conditions, which I'm not going to read because we've all just heard them. Oh, are we ready to vote?
Bruce is a yes.
Catherine, yes.
Yes.
And I am also carried.
Before we continue.
Thank you. And I apologize to everybody in the audience who had to put up with me for an hour.
Well, the next one isn't quite as long. What do you have to sign your life away? I think the best of a bad situation. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not our fault. Because we could have done it right now. I don't have to sign it.
Yep, I'll do. I need your initial there, and there, please. Go ahead and start carry and sign for me. Keep that one. Circle carries.
Yep.
That's fine. I just want to make sure we take care of that one, right?
You betcha.
Thank you very much. Keep my pen.
You'll
Don't
keep your
steal my
pen. Okay, maybe Club Island is next, I think. Okay, next on the agenda is D13 2023 00480 Club Island. I need. No?
Right. If the owner or the agent is attendance, if they want to come forward for the 80 Club Island. So the application is requesting permission to permit the following deck additions to the existing non-complying dwelling. A proposed 13.4 square meter deck and an 11.6 square meter deck attached to the northwest side and a 27.1 square meter deck attached to the northeast side. The application is also requesting a permission to expand the existing legal non-complying dwelling with a 49.1 square meter addition to the northeast side of the structure. The existing dwelling is a non-complying structure that does not meet the minimum setback from the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River and does not meet the minimum front yard setback of the island residential zone.
Kyle, there's you.
Yep, thank you, Chair, through you. So as noted, the application is requesting permission to permit the addition of 2 attached decks to the northwest side of the existing dwelling and 1 attached to the northeast side of the structure. Further, to expand the existing dwelling with an addition to the northeast side. The proposed development meets the required setbacks from the rear and side lot lines. Further, it is compliant with lot coverage requirements, and the development is proposed to be located no closer to the water than the existing dwelling. Further, the CRCA have submitted comments based on their consideration of natural hazards and have indicated no concerns. As such, staff recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Amanda, any public comments?
Yes. So we received comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, and we have not received any written public comments.
Is there anyone in attendance that wants to speak to this application? Is anyone? No.
Yes, we do have somebody in attendance online. I'm just going to unmute their microphone.
Jason.
Hi, my name is Jason Simmons. I own the lot to, I believe, the west of this application. I just wanted to express I welcome them to the island, and I'm in support of their application. The only concern I have is I too am looking to build at some point, and just with what they're looking to do more on my side of the property line. I'm just concerned about having to go for a variance if for some reason, their application gets approved and then I would need to go for a variance. That's honestly my only concern.
So just if I'm understanding your question correct, you have an assumption that the approval of this application would then trigger a minor variance application for your property. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I don't have any specific plans at this time. I do plan on building more towards that side of my property. And I guess my only concern is I'm not planning on building, really requiring any variances or anything like that. I want to build strictly conforming. And my only concern is, by approving this somehow, it might make me have to go for a variance because, now my neighbors are closer. That's literally my only concern.
Yeah, so I can confirm that that wouldn't be the case. Everything is looked at in context. So the only way that a variance would be required for your property is if the development you're proposing would not be in line with the township zoning bylaw.
Okay, I have nothing else to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So committee members, we'll start with Bruce. You want to discuss it? with the applicant?
Yes, question for Mr. McDowell. While I was at your property, your wife was showing myself and Jim around, and I think she mentioned that you had an elderly family member and you were hoping to make a path for an all-terrain vehicle or a vehicle of some sort to bring the elderly person up and down to the cottage. And I'm wondering if that is being addressed as part of the application, or if you have any further input on that.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. The original application included an expansion of our deck, which is at the waterfront. In its existing form, it's unsafe to be used, so we're unable to. Upon the opinion of the CRCA, we were not able to include that because there was no, I guess there was no latitude for us to expand or improve that deck, aside from just rebuilding what was there, and that just isn't sufficient for us to bring a vehicle down and pick anyone up, as opposed to using the stairs. So as opposed to delaying this application, we have to pull that a portion out and address it separately, which we're pursuing at this time.
Yes, I'm sorry to hear that, but that's all I have. Having visited the site, I have no other concerns or issues.
I have no concerns with the application, but there were two other buildings that were shown to me when I visited the site. I assume they do not require a minor variance or do not require being included in the application. These would be new buildings.
Yeah, that's correct. The garage and the bunkie are both located outside of the 30 meters. We went through a few iterations with this proposal, and ultimately this was the final one that was landed on, with the garage and the bunkie outside of the 30 meters.
Thank you. I have no concerns.
Yeah, I have no concerns with this application.
Nor do I. If we need a mover and a seconder to approve this application.
Bruce will move.
I'll second.
So it's been moved by Bruce, seconded by Paul, that application D13-2023-004 be approved, subject to the conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. Are we ready to vote?
Bruce is a yes.
Catherine, yes.
Yes.
And I am also carried. We don't do it.
If I may, good afternoon. My name is Tiago Caldas. I'm the owner of Asterisk Engineering. And on behalf of Andrew and Kim McDowell, we would like to express our thankfulness and help to Marnie, Venditti, Kyle, Pio, Paul Nixon, Steve Miller, and Amanda. Thank you very much for everything, and this was just a little bit of a long one, tricky one, but we really appreciate you guys. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. So next is D13-2023-024 287 Ivy Lea Road. Amanda.
Okay, the application has been submitted in response to construction without Planning Act approval, requesting permission for the demolition, reconstruction, and expansion of a legal non-compliant accessory building that doesn't meet the minimum required 30-meter setback from the St. Lawrence River and the minimum front yard setback of the shoreline residential zone of the zoning bylaw 07079. The former and new structure are both located within the regulatory floodplain, which is below the elevated 76.59 meters GSC on the St. Lawrence River. As a result, the structure is existing, non-complying with respect to the zoning provision that requires a minimum setback of 5 meters from the floodplain. It is proposed to expand the existing structure by 0.4 square meters and increase the height of the storage building by 0.8 meters. The setback of the building and from the front yard and from the high water mark has increased by approximately 0.3 meters. An existing non-complying boat port is being removed.
Kyle, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, through you. So development on this property was brought to the attention of staff through a complaint from an adjacent neighbor. Upon staff's initial review of the property, it was noted that a boat port structure and a shed were constructed without approvals or permits. The owner of 287 Ivy Lea Road was directed to apply for pre-consultation with the township, which they did. Staff reviewed the development proposal at that time and noted that the planning department would be unable to support a variance for the boat port, but that we had no concerns with the shed as there was a previously existing shed in this location and the proposal represented a small increase in size. The applicant was cooperative with this approach and indicated that he would be removing the boat port structure and seeking a variance for the shed. Staff have no concerns with the shed as it encroaches no further toward the water than the previously existing structure, and the requested size increase is limited. Further, the CRCA have reviewed this proposal based on their consideration of natural hazards and have indicated no concerns. As such, staff recommend approval.
Okay, thanks, Kyle. Amanda, any public comments?
Yes, received comments from the Conservation Authority, and they had no objections, but recommend that the structure be moved further upland, but it is not required. We received written public comments from Alice and Grant Burton, neighbors, with no objections, and that is all the public comments we've received.
Is there anyone in attendance that, in the audience that wishes to speak to the application? Yes, come ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Giles Sharp, and my address is 297 Ivy Lea, historically known as the Thelma. I'm just going to move this up here.
Well, that's fine.
So basically, two concerns. The first being the applicant for this variance. It's my understanding that he built it, as already stated, without a building permit. So as it stands right now, it was built without a proper permit. The concern with that being, as a member of the community, is that it sends a message that if we don't follow the rules that are set before us, we just apply for a variance and you get approved, and ultimately we get to do what we wanted. So that's concerning, number one. Number two is the noise that it creates. So I don't know for sure. I'm assuming there's a pump in there. It comes on at various intervals. It's very close to the west side of my property. The west side of my property has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and 2 kitchens. Comes on, I guess, when on demand. And so that could be at all hours of a 24-hour period. The noise is excessive. I have a recording on my phone if you would like to hear it from inside my house, because of the extreme noise. So the recommendation, if it is approved, that it be moved to another portion of the applicant's property. From our perspective, also that some consideration regarding, before approved, that we're not respecting the rules of our community, our society. It just sends a message that in this community, we can just do what we want and then come and sit down with you, and hopefully you'll work something out and make this go away. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
It normally doesn't quite work that way. Kyle, can you tell me what pump this man would be talking about?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, through you. So I believe he's speaking about the existing shed structure, which, you know, I wasn't aware of this, but perhaps it's being used as a pump house. Ultimately, the applicant is within his right to use the structure as a pump house. The structure was previously existing. What we're looking at today would be an increase in height for the existing shed, as well as a small increase in size. So in regard to the applicant or the member of the public's comments in regard to potentially moving the structure to another location, the applicant has grandfathered rights to this existing location due to the existence of the previously existing shed. So if we were to deny the application today, or if the committee were to deny the application today, the applicant would still have the right to rebuild that shed in the same location that currently exists. So there's no requirement that he would have to be able, that he would be required to move this structure. What he's asking for today would be a small increase in size as well as the increase in height. So I guess I just wanted to clarify that it's not in the purview of this committee to make him move the structure completely.
Thank you, Kyle. Committee members, I'll start with, just a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. I
Thank
didn't
you.
see mine.
Through you, just to speak to noise again, if there are concerns with noise, don't believe that we've received concerns about that
Yes.
previously, but if there are concerns with respect to noise, that could certainly be approached through our bylaw enforcement. I don't know if this is a new pump. I don't know if perhaps there may be a part that's not functioning properly, but if there is an issue with noise, that's something we could look through bylaw enforcement.
Good, thank you. And you can't do that if you don't know about it. Yeah, okay. Committee members, I'm going to start with Bruce again.
My question is for Mr. Shenton. Regarding the pump, would I be right in assuming that it's encased in a wooden box, basically to the side of the outside of the shed in question?
Yes, Mr. Craig, I saw you were on site yesterday, so you did see the pump. It's a pump that I use to draw water into my koi pond and circulate on the site. The pump has been there for 25 years. Same pump. It's in a contained box. I will say that when we were given our stop work order early in May, everything stopped. So the pump normally isn't sitting where it sits, where it is today. It's not on a open bottom. It's normally, where beside the shed where, and Miss Graham, you were there last week with me as well. On the west side between Giles' house and my house, that'll be finished as the Cataraqui region, and we talked about, it'll be finished there. And then there's a pump with a purpose-built shed, and then the noise doesn't come out underneath it like it does. I'm forced to. I had to just stop. Right? No, nothing moved. Nothing has been done since you told me not to. I followed the rules after the fact, as Giles said. It was after the fact, I admit. But the application that we have today, I'm not looking to be a bad neighbor. The knife does cut two ways on making noise with an Airbnb next door, I must say, as well. So it's not only one side here.
But my question is, this looks more noise. It's just recent then? It's because of
well, it's more, yeah. So it's always run. It's on a timer. It comes on and off. Comes on at about 6 o'clock in the morning or so. And has different times through the day that it's off. And then it's right now, because it's dark, it's set at 9. It turns off. Now that it's dark, it'll go down to 6 o'clock here shortly. Just during daylight hours, it certainly doesn't intrude upon the noise bylaw that I am familiar with in the township. Does not do that. I can. I'm as a gesture, as a neighbor gesture, I can try to insulate that, Giles. I'm not opposed to trying to come up with a better idea. Let's see what it gets once I get my approval, get my permit, get things finished, and then it wouldn't be that hard to insulate the inside of that to try
and help it.
Yeah. Yep. I'm okay with that.
Would you be favorable to putting some kind of insulated blanket around the pump box or try to dampen it?
I'll insulate that. It's a pine box. It was custom made.
Yeah, I have a photograph of it here.
Yeah. And so it's not difficult to put some kind of either foam or barrier of some kind, noise barrier to put on the inside of that. It's okay. I'm not opposed to that.
Because it is noisy.
Yeah.
So maybe a good gesture on your part, and then maybe we can have good neighbors. Wouldn't that be nice?
I've been here 35 years and I had good neighbors except for the last 18 months. So it's not from my side, I can assure you that.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
I have no questions.
Yeah, no concerns. I didn't hear the pump run, so it's nice that you're going to insulate it anyways.
No, I have no concerns either.
Thank you.
So I need a mover and a seconder for this application.
Catherine moves.
Catherine.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Catherine, seconded by Paul that application D13 2023-024 be approved, subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. Are we ready to vote?
Bruce is a yes.
Catherine, yes.
Yes.
And I am also carried. Yes. Trying to figure out which one's right. Turn a page here. Okay, our next application is D13 or 2023-025 91 Willowbank Road. Amanda, would you do your thing here?
Yes, we have the owner online, so just ask that they come forward. So I'll read the purpose. The application is requesting permission to expand an existing legal non-complying dwelling with the addition of a new basement access, 3-season sunroom, and deck. The application is also requesting permission to rebuild an existing non-complying shed with an increase in height. The existing dwelling is a non-complying structure that does not meet the minimum setback from the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River and the floodplain. The existing non-complying shed and the proposed replacement shed do not meet the minimum setback from the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River and are located within the floodplain. Access to move the owner's boat from the front yard to the rear yard and vice versa along the southern side of the property was a consideration in the proposed location of the new shed.
Kyle.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. So this application is requesting permission to expand the existing dwelling with an addition on the water side of the structure, further for the expansion of a previously existing storage shed on the property, which was destroyed by a flood. The proposed addition to the dwelling is to occur no closer to the water than the existing dwelling and is compliant with the required side yard setbacks and the required lot coverage. The proposed storage shed is to be set back further from the water than the previously existing structure. Further, the CRCA have reviewed the application based on their consideration of natural hazards and indicated no concerns. As such, staff recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Amanda, any public comments?
Yes, we received comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, and we have not received any further public comments.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Is there anyone in the audience today that wishes to speak to it?
We have no one in the audience and no members of the public online.
Okay, start with committee members' questions for the applicant. Bruce.
Yes, I have one question to the applicant. It's to do with the existing shed that you want to replace. When I was on site, I found no shed nor staking in place to indicate where the new shed might go. Could you enlighten me on that, please?
The original shed was torn down because it was a significant hazard to my family after the high water in 2019. I did stake my property a few weeks ago, indicating clearly where the new shed would be. There is 4 stakes, 1.5 meters away from the property line, and with the dimensions set out in the plot plan.
Yes, I saw a lot of building material along the south edge of the property. Is it somewhere, where is it in relation to that?
South of that.
South of that?
Sorry, south of that, sorry, towards the water. So that would be west. So just past where I am holding that wood material is the 4 stakes in the ground indicating where the shed will be, which is significantly closer to my house than the old shed was.
Okay, fine. Thank you. That's the only question I have.
Catherine.
I have a question about the proposed addition as it relates to your septic system and your well. Where is your well in relation to the addition?
In the front yard.
Okay, thank you.
Paul.
Yeah, no, I don't have any concerns.
No, nor do I. So we need a mover and a seconder to move ahead with this application.
I'll move.
Seconder? Paul? You. So been moved by Bruce, seconded by Paul, that application D13-2023-025 be approved, subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. All in favor?
Bruce, yes.
Catherine, yes.
Yes.
And I am also carried. Ready? Okay. Okay, next is D13-2023-0261 Bouchier Island. Amanda, can you confirm the applicant, etc.?
Yes, the owner is online, so he's just unmuted his microphone, but I'll read the purpose. The application is requesting permission to expand an existing legal non-complying dwelling with an addition to the southeast side of the structure. The existing dwelling is a non-complying structure that does not meet the minimum setback from the high water mark of the St. Lawrence River and does not meet the minimum front yard setback of the island residential zone. Of note, a previously constructed addition to the existing legal non-complying dwelling is being demolished to facilitate the proposed larger addition.
Kyle.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. So as noted by Amanda, the applicant is requesting to expand the existing dwelling with an addition to the southeast side of the structure. Again, as noted, an existing addition is going to be demolished to sort of make way for this proposed addition. The proposed addition is on the backside of the structure, set back from the water. As such, no further encroachment into the required water body setback is set to occur. The CRCA have submitted comments that based on their review of the natural hazards, they have no objections to the proposal. As such, staff would recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Amanda, any public comments?
Yes, we received comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections. And we also received comments from the Thousand Islands National Park with no objections and noted that the park has a small islet and to the north of the proposed development. It doesn't appear that there would be any conflict, but worth highlighting to the owner if there are any changes to marine infrastructure. This area is also inside critical habitat for pug-nosed shriner and Blanding's turtles. And that is all the public comments we have received.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Is there anyone in attendance in the audience today that wishes to speak to this application?
We have no one in the audience and no one online looking to speak to it.
Okay, committee members. Bruce, would you like to start? Any questions for the applicant?
I have no questions or concerns. During the site visit, we saw the previously approved by minor variance addition and understand that the reason for wishing to demolish it and is it's got a bit of a lean to it. And as everything that's being added is further from the water than the existing, I have no concerns.
Catherine.
No concerns.
Paul.
Yeah, no concerns. I think it's an improvement.
Yep, and as I do also, so I have no concerns either. We need a mover and a seconder.
I'll move.
Catherine.
Bruce will second.
Bruce seconds. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Bruce, that application D13-2023-026 be approved, subject to the conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. All in favor?
Bruce, yes.
Catherine, yes.
Yes.
And I am also carried. Okay, next on the agenda is D13-2023-027-1701 County Road 32. Amanda, confirm if the applicant's here or not.
Yes, the applicant is here. She's just joining us at the table. So I'll read the purpose. The application is requesting zoning relief to permit additional floor area for accessory buildings used for home industry, dock fabrication on the property, as well as a larger area of open storage for the home industry. The property consists of primary residential use with an accessory home industry. The property is zoned general agriculture zone in zoning bylaw 07079.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Will it be Kyle or Marnie? Will you, Marnie? You want to give us your report?
Sure, thank you, through you. So this is an application requesting zoning relief to permit additional floor area within the accessory buildings for the home industry for it. The business is a dock fabrication business, as well as allowing additional space for open storage on the property. This came forward through concerns identified that the scale of the use on the property was larger than what is permitted under the zoning bylaw. In reviewing it, the agricultural zoning that is on the property does limit the property in terms of being able to, the home occupation or the home industry is a permitted use in the zoning bylaw and in the official plan. So it was the recommendation that the variances to these sections move ahead to allow for recognition of what's there, as well as implementing some specific provisions in terms of screening and ensuring that the use on the site has no visual impact on the surrounding area. There has been no public input received with respect to this application to date, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Amanda, any public comments received?
Yes, we just received comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, but we've not received any further public comment.
So is there anyone in attendance today that wishes to speak to this application? Seeing no one, I'll move to committee. Bruce?
I have no concerns with the application. It looks like the applicant's making an effort to keep things in an orderly fashion. And I believe there are some conditions involved if approved. So I'm good to go with this.
Catherine?
I also have no basic concerns, but I am aware that given the perimeter and the requirement for, I'll say, orderliness and beautification of the perimeter, how will this be monitored?
Through you, there's a recommendation or a condition in the recommendation that this be implemented through a development agreement to be registered on title to the property, so it's enforceable.
Thank you very much. That solves my concern.
Okay, Paul, any concerns?
Yeah, no, I have no issues.
No, nor do I. So I need a mover and a seconder again.
Bruce will move.
Catherine will second.
So moved by Bruce, seconded by Catherine, that application D13 2023-027 be approved subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and decision of the committee. All in favor?
Bruce, yes.
Catherine, yes.
Yes.
And I am also carried. To the bottom yet. So next in order is D13 2023-028 530 Bowsprit Lane. Amanda. Can you confirm if the people are here or online or?
Yes, well, the agent is here. He's just making his way up, so I'll just read the purpose. The application is requesting permission to expand the size of an existing legal non-complying dwelling through the addition of an uncovered attached deck. An existing detached non-complying deck is proposed to be removed. The existing dwelling does not meet the minimum setback from the high watermark of Charleston Lake and does not meet the minimum front yard setbacks of the shoreline residential zone.
Okay, Kyle.
Thank you, Chair, through you. So as noted, the application is for the expansion of a dwelling through the addition of an uncovered attached deck. The property currently features an existing detached deck, which is located 1.8 meters from the water. The proposed attached deck is to be located 6.1 meters from the water, and the existing deck is proposed to be demolished as a part of this application. As the setback from the water body is increasing and the side yard setbacks are met, as well as the existing lot coverage is not proposed to change. Further, the CRCA have submitted comments noting that based on their consideration of natural hazards, they have no objections. As such, staff would recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Amanda, any public input?
Yes, we received comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections. And we received written public comments from Jerry and Joanne Claben, neighbors with no objections. Cyril and Lydia Leader with no objections. They're also neighbors. And then a separate letter from Lydia Leader, a neighbor with no objections. And that's all the public comments we have received.
Thank you, Amanda. Is there anyone in attendance today that wishes to speak to the application?
We're not showing anyone in the audience and no one online.
Okay, committee members. Bruce, have you any questions for the applicant?
No, I think this is a win-win situation because the removal of the existing deck, which is pretty much on the water, will be a large improvement. So I have no concerns.
Catherine?
Yeah, no concerns.
Nor do I. We need a mover and a seconder again. Yeah, move the application ahead. Moved by Paul. Catherine.
I'll second.
Seconded by Cap. Moved by Paul, seconded by Catherine, that application D13-2023-028 be approved subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. All in favor?
Bruce, yes.
Catherine, yes.
Yes.
And I am also carried. Thanks, Bruce. Okay, next is D13-2023-029 104 Killenbeck Lane. Amanda, would you read the application?
Yes, the application is requesting permission to remit a proposed 35 square meter uncovered deck attached to the southeast side of the existing non-complying dwelling. The existing dwelling is a non-complying structure that does not meet the minimum setback from the high water mark of Killenbeck Lake and doesn't meet the minimum front yard setback of the shoreline residential zone. 104 Killenbeck Lane was subject to a previous minor variance, file D13-2022-037, to increase the size of an existing legal non-complying dwelling with an addition on the water side of the existing dwelling in the location of a previously existing uncovered deck.
Kyle.
Thank you, Chair, through you. So as noted, the application is for the expansion of the existing dwelling with the addition of an attached deck. The proposed attached deck will meet the required side yard setbacks. The existing lot coverage is not proposed to change. Further, the CRCA have submitted comments indicating that based on their review of natural hazards, they have no concerns. As such, staff would recommend approval of this application.
Thank you, Kyle. Amanda, any public comments that we need to hear about?
Yes, we received comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections. And we also received written public comments from Greg and Lisa Martin, neighbors with no objections. And that is all the public comments we have received.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, Bruce, any questions?
I have no concerns with this application and the applicant doing a nice job improving the residence, and it's looking a lot nicer. Not that it looked bad before, but it's looking smart. So I have no concerns.
Catherine.
No concerns.
Yeah, no concerns.
No, nor do I. Move in a second.
We didn't ask for public.
Oh, yeah. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this application?
We have no one in the audience and no one online.
Okay, thank you. Now, we need a mover and a seconder. Again.
Bruce, I'll move.
I second.
Okay, moved by Bruce, seconded by Paul, at application D13-2023-029 be approved subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. All in favor?
Bruce, yes.
Catherine, yes.
And I am also carried. Okay. The next one, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Bruce as I have a conflict of interest, so see ya to adjourn after that. Hopefully. There you go, Bruce.
Okay, the next application is application number D 13-2023 -031 at 14 Darlingside Road. If the applicant wants to come forward and take a seat on your right. In the meantime, Amanda will read the application and then we'll ask the applicant to state what they wish to build and why. Thanks, Amanda, when you're ready.
Yes, the application is requesting a minor variance to permit the construction of an accessory structure, a detached garage that exceeds the maximum permitted height of an accessory structure.
Thanks, Amanda. Kehoe people, would you sort of just outline what you wish to build and I guess the purpose of it, please?
Yeah, thank you. The garage is obviously for personal use. We have a few little personal boats that are placed that we have nowhere to. We used to have River Route Marina. We stored our personal boats there, but we don't have that anymore. So our 2 personal boats would store there. I have a little camper, a couple trailers, and things that we use through the summer that we want to keep inside out of the winter. And the height, the 1.5 that we're requesting. Wanted to put a small room upstairs just with some gym equipment, weight set. We don't have anything in our existing house right now for that, for our 2 boys to use. We read all the public comments, and there seems to be, I think, some concern that this was somehow linked to our business site. I got to reiterate, there's nothing on this property. It's residential. We know it's residential, have no intention of using it for any other purposes other than private. The height of the garage was driven the only thing we're asking for a variance for was the height, and that was simply to get the upper story above the work area to have the little gym in and keep the peak of the roofs and stuff in the similar architecture to match the other buildings that we built on the property.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kehoe. Planning Department, who wants to speak to that? Kyle?
Thank you, Chair, through you. So this application is for the construction of a detached garage, which requires relief from the height requirement of the zoning bylaw. The proposed structure is compliant with all required setbacks and is compliant with the lot coverage requirements of the zone. Further, the CRCA have reviewed this application based on their consideration of natural hazards and have indicated no concerns. Of note, staff have received several comments from members of the public. One of the concerns was regarding the parkway constituting a natural severance for the 2 portions of the property, as ultimately a portion of the property is located north of the parkway and another portion is located south. Staff would note that there is a restrictive covenant registered on file, which requires that the portion of the property north of the parkway and the portion of the property south of the parkway must be sold, leased, transferred, or otherwise conveyed as one. As such, staff have no concerns regarding the natural severance. Further, staff received several comments noting the concerns that the structure would be used for commercial purposes. Staff would note that the portion of the property which the garage structure is proposed to be constructed on is rural, which does not permit commercial use. However, to ensure that the public feedback is heard and represented, staff have added a condition into the report noting that the structure is only permitted to be used as an accessory structure to a residential use. Further, as a part of the building permit process, the applicant will be required to declare the use of the structure, which will be further confirmed by building inspectors during subsequent inspections. So with the recommended conditions, staff have no concerns and would recommend approval.
Thank you, Kyle. Anyone from the public wish to speak to this application? Please come forward to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. It's Terrence Rossum. I'm at 165 Selton Road. And normally I'd be home having a coffee and a couple of cookies right now. So if my tummy starts to grumble, I apologize for that. Anyhow, I first saw this application online and I read the description of the application and the proposed use. And I saw that there was a restricted covenant on there, but didn't have the details. And my concern, have you all had a chance to read my letter that I sent in? Okay. So anyway, my concern boils down to is this two separate legal lots. And I didn't have details of what the restricted covenant meant. In the planning report, they said that the restricted covenant dealt with the joint conveyance of the lands, which can have many meanings. More often not just means more than two people are going to own the land. Just before I come in today, I went online and I had an email from Amanda restating just what you heard now about the fact that the properties have to be sold together. Now that almost reinforces to me that the properties are separate on either side of the parkway. But if they're going to be sold, they have to be sold together, and that's fine. That's all, legalese. But the fact that they're sold together, I don't think changes the fact that the land on the north is vacant property, not related to the property on the south. You're just going to sell two pieces of property, you're going to sell them together. That's fine. That's great. But I still don't see the argument where you can say that they're still not two separate properties, physically speaking, separated by the parkway. And my concern is that accessory buildings are not allowed on vacant lands.
Mr. Kehoe, response, please.
Well, yeah, I guess the thing would be the reason to link these two properties together. There was some question about this early on that it could be sold, but actually it can't. It would landlock the southern home on the other side of the parkway. It is the only access to it. There's no access off the parkway. So there was no reasonable thing to ever separate them. So we were fine to do this on title and say it can never be sold. So that's how we put the first little accessory building on that property. Because this comment came up early on when we went to put our first garage up. So we did this to suffice that.
Sorry, I understand that.
Go ahead,
Chair. I understand that. But the address 14 Darlingside Drive was the civic address given to the property on the south side. They obviously must have some type of right of way over that northern portion to get to the tunnel to go down to the house. So that's never been in dispute. They've always had access off of Darlingside Drive to get to the property on the south.
Well, you're probably aware, though, that initially that was one property.
Until it got severed by the highway.
Right.
So that became a natural severance.
So it's a unique situation that has been recognized. I'll use the word, I won't use the word legalized because I'm not a lawyer, but it's recognized for planning purposes as basically one property. But I understand where you're coming from. And this is a unique situation. And the best I can explain it, and perhaps planning can help me out with this, but for the township's purpose, it's being treated as one property. And I don't know, someone from the planning department, if they want to touch on that or not, but
yeah, I mean, you essentially hit the nail on the head. We would interpret this as one property. As such, the existing primary dwelling would count towards the requirement regarding a dwelling on the property. So as we're considering it one property, the existing dwelling establishes that primary use, which allows for accessory uses on the adjacent north side of the property. I guess the concern with the existing provision is that we would essentially end up with a property that has only a garage, and then that would be further conveyed. We have established that that's not possible through the establishment of the restrictive covenant. As such, staff don't share the same concern that a natural severance would be possible and that future conveyance of the land would be possible. I believe Marnie has a piece to add to this.
Thank you. If I can just add to that, at the time, when there was construction previously, as Mr. Kehoe referenced, the township staff at the time received a legal opinion that a definition with respect to the two lots was required through this restrictive covenant that's currently registered on title. So the township's legal staff worked with the applicant's legal staff, and a recommendation went through council with respect to the current restrictive covenant that is registered on site. And so it was noted that through that process, that the potential of these being considered as two separate lots would not be an issue again and not interfere with the issuance of building permits going forward. So council addressed this previously. I believe it was in 2016.
Thank you, Madam Planner. Anything else, sir?
Well, okay, I understand that point about the restricted covenant and the lawyers reviewing that and saying that the restricted covenant is in order. The covenant is that both parcels can have to be sold together. That's the point of the covenant. The two properties have to be sold together. Can't sell the north or the south separately. I'm not sure it still addresses the question or not that the property on the north is still a vacant parcel of land, not connected with the house on the south side. Is there one deed for the entire property, or are there two deeds? There's two assessment roll numbers. I don't understand the point about it. It's kind of uncommon. Well, I do in a way, but all along the parkway, where you have properties that were divided by the highway, they are two separate parcels of land. Most often the part on the south is zoned shoreline, so they can put up their docks and boathouses. Smuggler's Glen Resort, they've been there forever. They've had land on the north side forever. And then, a decade ago or so, ever, they developed the Smuggler's Glen golf course. They could sell that property tomorrow if they wanted to. But if they had also put in place a restricted covenant that, hey, if you buy the Smuggler's Glen Resort, you also have to buy the golf club, or we can't sell one without the other, that's also a restricted covenant. But there's still two separate pieces of land. All I'm asking the committee to do, respectfully, is perhaps get a legal opinion, the covenant aside, that this in fact is not or is one property. Is it still two separate properties, or is it one property? That's my only concern. It's not really been made clear to me that the lawyer has said it's one property. It has to be sold as one.
I can only repeat what our Director of Planning has said earlier, that legal opinion was sought and the township is satisfied. So we have to move on.
What was the legal opinion? I don't understand. It's a restrictive covenant that has to be sold together. Does that make it one property?
Thank you. Through you. I have the council resolution from 2016 in front of me. It indicates that council provides a formal interpretation that the definition of lot under the zoning bylaw include two lots that can be conveyed under the Planning Act where the physical configuration and proximity of the lots makes it likely that they will always be sold together, and where a restrictive covenant requiring joint conveyance of the lands has been registered on title against the properties in favor of the township to the township's satisfaction, and further that when the zoning bylaw is updated. So I would confirm that that has not been done to date, because this was 2016. We haven't done a comprehensive update, but that the definition of lot be updated to reflect this interpretation. So this was passed by council specifically in relation to this property. I can't speak to any other arrangements with respect to any other properties that may be separated.
Thank you. I think that explains it. I understand your concern. Is a valid concern, but in this case, it looks like the I's have been dotted and the T's crossed. Anything else, sir?
Okay, I hear what you're saying. Okay. But I'm still not convinced that it's not two separate properties. The I's have been dotted and T's crossed with respect to the restricted covenant, saying it has to be sold as one property, or the two lots have to be sold together. Was there not something more specific that boils that down to that this is one lot? Is that not what it comes down to?
Madam Planner?
Thank you. Through you. That's what the council resolution indicates, that the definition of lot be updated to address that it is considered a lot when the two parcels are tied together through a restrictive
But that
covenant
hasn't been
approved by
done.
council. The interpretation from council was made and approved through a resolution of council.
I respectfully suggest that, we understand your concern and understand the question. But it does look like it has been covered. And so do you have anything further?
No, that was my main concern. I did go online today and I saw the elevation drawings for the building, and it is a very attractive building. And I have no issues with that at all. I just wanted to make sure that the rules and regulations of the township are applicable across the township, because normally you can't put an accessory building on a vacant property. Okay. So, it appears that your considerations that it is one property. I'm still not convinced that it is, but I'm not sure I would go after that. I don't know. I understand what you said about the lawyers and the motion that was passed. But to my way of thinking, it's just saying that the properties have to be sold together. It's not confirming that they're not separate to one another. I don't know if I'm out of line asking for a lawyer to make an opinion on that. If that's the case, that's what I would ask you to do. Just defer a decision until it's clear, absolutely, that this is not two separate parcels of land that are intended to be sold together, but actually are two separate lots as we speak.
Thank you. Mr. Kehoe.
My name is Sarah Kehoe, so I'm Ken's wife. One of the things that happened to us is that back in 2016, 14, we bought the property. 15, we renovated the old Darlingside store, which if anybody was reading papers, I'm sure you all remember, was a very heated topic. As we decided to live there, we were living in that one room, tiny old store that we'd renovated. We spent 4 years in that building. And after probably the first or second winter, we had no storage at all. So in 2016, that's when we went through this process, went through the legal opinion, got the restrictive covenant. As Marnie was explaining, then there was further, was it called a bylaw amendment? It was a resolution. So we did understand by doing that, that's what allowed us to put the small garage that you now see at the driveway entrance. And further development, even after we built the house, it's always our intention that we're not building anymore on the water side. We have no reason to. The house is there, the old store is there. We love that it's trees, lawn. We don't need any more development on that side. So it just makes sense for us, for our family, that a larger storage garage, obviously we got boys, they got toys, like there's stuff. It makes a lot more sense for us to keep that on the north side where we already understood that we had permission.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. Well, I've made my concerns, expressed my concerns. Otherwise, as I said, I don't have an objection to the appearance of the building and whatnot. It was just whether this is a vacant lot or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, come forward, please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is David Boone. I'm a newcomer to Selton Road. It's been 3+ years. I'm at 133 Selton Road. And I had no intention to speak this afternoon. I'm a 40-year educator, so I came to learn about how the system works here, and I'm impressed with the professionalism of everybody, the staff and council. I've been always impressed with the building that I see there that's in question. It's down in a little hole there. It's got a beautiful brook, beautiful stone, all that stuff. So the increased height, in my opinion, is to take care of the kids and all that is a great idea. I have absolutely I've talked to my neighbors along the street, and there was some question about whether it was going to be a commercial thing. Yes, I sort of, when I saw the personal Sarah, and I have a daughter, Sarah and Ken personally, as compared to Kehoe construction, this is not a warehouse or construction. They're making slight changes. I'm impressed. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience like to speak? Yes, just name and address, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Edwin Ducanal. I live on 58 Salton Road. My wife owns 63 Salton Road, so I'll talk in behalf of her. First of all, I got nothing against Sarah and Ken. They make beautiful things and they work very hard for it. The only thing is what I don't understand from the drawings, what they sent me, is let me look it up. That's about the road allowance, and I got some survey stuff from way back, and the unopened road allowance, and the drawing I saw about the building, and talk about 6 meters out of my wife's property line. So that unopened road, is that on that side? That's really unclear on the drawings. So I don't really get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I can just, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ken. I'm just looking for clarification. I just want to make sure I understand your question. You're asking if the unopened road allowance affects your wife's property?
That's my wife's property. No, not the road allowance, but the bigger property on the left-hand side, the 45 acres. That's on Simone's Delou.
Yes, that is separated from the subject property at 14 Darlingside by the unopened road allowance.
Okay, yeah. So that the allowance stays on Mr. Kehoe's side, or that stays just in between, I guess.
The road allowance separates the two properties.
Yeah.
It bisects them. I can show you the map if.
Yeah, so the 6 meters coming out at the center of the road. But the building, the side of the building is going to be.
The building is inside the property and meets all of the requirements of the zoning bylaw within the property. So the road allowance itself is unaffected by the application.
Okay, I understand that. So we probably need to talk about the gym. Maybe need some septic system or holding tank, or I can imagine when you're sporting, or so you're not going to make a septic system there.
Yes, there's a small septic system.
Okay.
There's a single washroom in it's on the drawing, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see the drawing, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
the road allowance is a separate piece of property, right? There's property, and we have to meet the setback from the road allowance.
Microphone, Ken.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so the road allowance you're talking about between our two properties is a separate piece of property that the township owns. So our building is set back the legal amount from the road allowance. Like, we're not building on the road allowance. So that separates you and I.
That was the only thing that concerned me, actually, because I didn't understand the drawing, how they made it in the past.
Okay.
And the only reason is that I'm standing here is that a few years ago, on my property and my wife's property, was somebody camping there for 2 or 3 years. And I had to pay a surveyor to prove it was ours after a lot of problems. So that's the only reason. I want to be clear now. It's a waste of money. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, concerns from the audience? Committee members, Catherine. Oops. Amanda, it's yours.
Sorry, I just have to read the written comments that we received into the record. Okay, so I just summarized the concerns that we have received. So we received a letter from Terrence Rosum, neighbor, objecting to the proposal, noting that the parcels are separate, that no details of the restricted covenant were provided, that the proposal requires a primary use on the separate parcel, and believes that the garage permit issued in 2017 was a mistake. Received comments from Len Pickard, objecting to the proposal, noting concerns with the size of the structure, deterrence of tourism, lower property values, and eroding the unique charm that defines our region. A letter from Debbie Jones objecting to the proposal, noting negative effect on the wildlife, tourism, housing values, traffic volume, increase in commercial type structure. Terry Anderson, a letter opposed to the minor variance, and a letter from Karen and John Laird, neighbors, noting concerns with the height of the structure, traffic, noise, and safety. And we also received a letter from the Conservation Authority with no objections. And then that's all the public written comments we've received.
Thanks, Amanda. Committee members, Catherine, any questions, concerns?
I have no real questions except given the concerns that have been expressed by other members of the public who aren't here, I'm going to ask how the final use of the building will be monitored. I mean, I take what the applicants are saying at face value, but given the concerns that have been expressed, how can people be assured that the intent of the building is in fact what it is used for?
Thank you, Chair, through you. The first way that'll be sort of maintained will be through the existing condition, which is placed in the planner's report, which identifies that the structure has to be accessory to the residential use. Secondly, through the building permit process, the applicant will be required to sign an affidavit sort of indicating what the exact use of the structure is. If building inspectors complete subsequent site inspections and note that that doesn't appear to be what the use is, then we can look at enforcement in that time. In terms of, say a year or two down the road, neighbors start to realize that it's used for commercial use. How enforcement works in the township is it's all complaint based. So we would encourage, neighbors essentially, see something, say something. So if you see a problem on the property, please, shoot a message to staff, whether that be anonymously or with your name, and then building inspectors can go out, check things out, and then we can, talk next steps at that time, whether it be enforcement or, whether the applicant's sort of just willing to work with staff, et cetera.
Thank you, Kyle. I have no concerns, but I think it's important that that be part of the record. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Paul?
Yeah, I have no concerns. I know some of the neighbors had concerns, and I think it's going to be big improvement for there's no neighbors beside, in front, behind. I think it's going to be a nice asset.
Thanks, Paul. I have no concerns. Once we have, learned that it's for personal use only, and the covenant and the council motion to cover all the bases. And the building looks to be an attractive, very attractive structure, and it's well back in off the road. And as Paul mentioned, there's no neighbor homes or anything in the immediate area. So I have no concern. So is the committee ready to vote on the application? I guess we need someone to move, someone second.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Catherine moves, Paul seconds.
And I just wanted to note that the condition that Kyle was speaking about, it just says that the structure is only permitted to be used as an accessory structure to a residential use, which has been added onto the decision that will be done for today.
Yeah. Okay, has been moved by Catherine and seconded by Paul, the application D13-2023-031 be approved subject to the conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. All in favor?
Catherine, yes?
Yes.
And I'm yes, so the motion is carried. Thank you. That concludes my portion. So We'll bring Jim back so we can adjourn.
So we have nothing else under other business for today's agenda. We do have a few more applications coming forward in October. There should be 2, I think, returning or 1 returning. And then we have 4, actually, it may just be all 6 new. I can't remember. Anyway, there'll be 6 probably for October 31st for your next one. We probably will need to schedule a boat ride. So I think if everybody's still okay going out in October, I'll get that scheduled with Marcel. And it's to Champagne Island. So it's just across from Shipman's Point there.
And under somewhat new business, can we ask the Secretary Treasurer to send out a reminder of boat rides?
I'm pretty sure I sent like
There we were
Maybe
strolling up and
4?
down the shore saying, are they at Huck's? Where are they? Where are they?
And I was away, so I do apologize. I was away like 3 days beforehand. So
I had a great solo ride on a great boat. Boy, I was happy.
I do apologize, Bruce, but I'll call you that morning.
Just wanted to let the committee know that there's also a report going to Committee of the Whole this Monday that includes a discussion of the resolution that the committee passed with respect to accessibility considerations and the application for, I think it was, I can't remember the county. Yeah, 3446 is County Road 3. Yes.
So if there's nothing else.
Move.
Okay, moved by Paul, seconded by Catherine. Committee of Adjustment will adjourn to meet again at the call of our Secretary Treasurer. All in favor?
Bruce, yes.
Catherine, yes.
Yes.
And I guess I am too. Carrie.
All right. Thank you, everybody. This concludes the meeting.